Verlander saying that he believes the balls are juiced in actual major league competition this year. Would you agree with that assessment, John?
I would agree. Listen, the thing I always say is I'm going to err on the side of the expert who has, in whatever their field is, like a baseball in a hand of a third baseman is not the same as the hand of a pitcher, right? So you could blindfold me, put 10 different baseballs in my hand, and I could tell you exactly everything you need to know about them because I've had over 2 million in my hand. So when the ball feels different, as a pitcher, you know exactly. You've got the ball. It's the same thing as a photographer. I'm going to trust a photographer than my own eyes on what is a better shoot or a better picture making or a producer and all the different fields that, hey, they've done it long enough. So how much of it's intentional, I can't even comprehend. But I would say this, percentage-wise, the ball's different. The commissioner has even echoed that. It's different. There's something different. They're trying to figure out why the ball's going farther, less drag, and why the leather is tighter than it maybe has been in the past. But also philosophically, the game has changed. So you're going to get more home runs whether the ball was juiced or not. It's just the style of baseball. It's the way that they're rewarding their players. It's the system the players are growing up in. So their idea of going to the plate and trying to go the other way and get a single is probably the farthest thing from most people's minds, with the exception of Mr. McNeil. And I think that in and of itself has a percentage bump. But it's the distances that are getting people a little bit more concerned to think that the ball's traveling farther and staying in the air longer. So that combination is creating a buzz where, okay, the pendulum has swung pretty far. Where does the pendulum come back? Where do we find the happy medium? Because in the NBA, they're shooting a ton of three-pointers. You could say the three-point shot, there's more three-pointers than ever before. Well, the reason is because they're shooting more. It's not necessarily there's greater shooters, although there are some. It's just that they're shooting more. And so the style of baseball is also creating to that.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, John, because you're right. With the NBA, it's just that everybody, it's now analytically and also coached, not just at the professional level, but for anybody coming up the ranks. Shoot threes. They'd rather you shoot the three than the mid-range jumper. Or if you are in deep two-point range, take a step back because you might as well get that extra point by attempting. It seems the same thing is being brought to bear in baseball by swing harder. Just swing harder. Swing over the. Right. You want to beat the shift, swing over it because exit velocity matters. Swing harder. It does appear to be a similar situation, John. Would you think?
It does, and the reverse example would be is if they made the basketball smaller, you would think the shots being made are going to be easier in basketball, right? So if you're shooting more threes, it's easier to make them if the ball's smaller. Well, if the ball's harder and the ball travels farther, then it's easier to lift the ball in the air, keep it in the air longer, and therefore that's where the confusion's coming in with the ball either being juiced or the fact that it's going, distances we haven't seen in a long time. But guys are stronger. Guys are swinging the bat at an alarming bat speed that I just can't imagine is sustainable over a 10-year period. But we're going to find out if this style of baseball, if the pendulum swings back analytically within organizations that say, okay, we all have the same information, we're all doing the same thing, what's the advantage then? There's not much. Let's go back, let's make some changes, let's start to create some issues and stress on the base pass. I believe whether through rule changes or just teams zigging when everyone's zagging, eventually it'll come back and the fundamentals of baseball will be more integrated than this just monster baseball where guys are bigger, stronger, faster, and they just hit the ball all over the place. Because there's still an element that I, as a broadcaster and a fan of the game and love the game, I still want to see these guys play a long time. Now, if this formula allows them to play a long time, it certainly would have to buck the current trend that's going on right now with the injury rate, at which to get to this level, you have to be this kind of trained machine to hit the ball and be strong enough, and therefore you bring in the risk of a lot of injuries, and therefore the pitchers who throw the ball 97, 98, 99 miles an hour, that's harder to sustain. So that's what I'm looking to see, how that tracks. When you have a great example in tonight's starting lineup, the pitchers that are going for the American and National League, a great example of the polar opposites of pitchers. Ryu's dominated this year without 95. Verlander has dominated with the ability to throw 95 well up into his ears, cruise control, and his ability to just transform time and look like he could pitch till he's 45.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.